trade that froze. The NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo is no longer the face of the Milwaukee Bucks. He is now in Miami. And the second that news hit, the entire NBA stopped moving. This was not just another trade rumor. This was not a late-night rumor from some anonymous account. This was the kind of blockbuster that makes players check their phones twice, makes executives slam doors in front offices, and makes fan bases realize that the league they understood yesterday no longer exists today. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the man who carried Milwaukee to a championship, the man who turned a small market franchise into a global name, the man Bucks fans believed would retire in that jersey, was suddenly headed to the Miami Heat, and he was not coming alone. Bobby Portis was also included in the deal, while Milwaukee received Tyler Herro, Jaime Jaquez Jr, Kel'el Ware, Kasparas Jakučionis, multiple first-round picks, a pick swap, and a second-rounder. On paper, it looked like a massive return. In reality, it felt like the end of an era. Because when a player like Giannis moves, the league does not simply react. The league shakes. Inside Miami, the message was clear. Pat Riley had finally landed the superstar he had been chasing for years. After missing on other big names, after watching the Heat drift between toughness and frustration, Miami finally had the kind of player who could change everything overnight. But across the NBA, not everyone was ready to crown. Draymond Green immediately questioned whether this made Miami a true title favorite right away. His point was simple. Getting Giannis is one thing. Building a complete championship team around him is another. And when Draymond speaks about championship construction, people listen, because he has lived inside that pressure. Then came the human side of the deal. Jaime Jaquez Jr, one of Miami's young pieces, reportedly found out he was going to Milwaukee while he was playing basketball. One moment, he was part of Heat culture. The next, his career had been redirected to a rebuilding Bucks team that had just lost its greatest player ever. That is the part fans sometimes forget. A blockbuster trade creates winners, losers, headlines, and debates, but it also changes real lives in real time. Meanwhile, Giannis' own reaction told a different story. This did not look like a player dragged somewhere against his will. This looked like a superstar stepping into a new chapter he had already imagined. Miami's culture, its toughness, its obsession with winning all of it seemed to fit the version of Giannis who wanted one more serious run at a championship. But the biggest question is still hanging over the league. Did Miami just build the next Eastern Conference monster? Or did Pat Riley make the boldest gamble of his career at the exact moment? Giannis' prime is starting to feel the pressure of time because this move does not only affect Miami, it affects Milwaukee's future, it affects Boston's plans, it affects LeBron James rumors, it affects every contender in the East that thought it knew the path to the finals. And now, everything has changed. So before we go deeper, let me know where you are watching from right now. Are you watching from Miami, Milwaukee, Boston, Los Angeles, New York, or somewhere else? If you think this trade makes Miami a real championship threat, press 1-inch the comments. If you think the Heat are being overhyped, press 2. And if you want more NBA drama, trade news, and behind-the-scenes stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Why Giannis finally walked away. For years, Milwaukee believed one thing more than anything else. As long as Giannis Antetokounmpo was wearing a Bucks jersey, there was always a chance to contend, a chance to shock the East, a chance to build one more championship team around the most important player in franchise history. But behind the loyalty, behind the public smiles, behind every quote about competing and staying focused, the truth had been building quiet. Giannis was running out of patience. This was not a sudden emotional decision. This was not a superstar waking up one morning and deciding he wanted a warmer city, a bigger market, or a louder spotlight. This was the result of years of pressure, years of roster changes, years of injuries, and years of watching Milwaukee's championship window slowly tighten around him. After the 2021 title, the Bucks had every reason to believe they had cracked the code. Giannis was at the peak of his powers. Chris Middleton was still trusted. Drew Holiday gave them toughness, defense, and veteran control. The city had a banner. The organization had proof. And Giannis had delivered the kind of finals performance that turned him from superstar into legend. But winning a championship does not stop time. The league kept moving, rivals got younger, contenders got deeper, the Celtics grew stronger, the Knicks became more dangerous, the Heat kept hunting stars, and Milwaukee kept trying to patch the roof while the foundation underneath started to shift. Every move was supposed to extend the window. Instead, each move made the future thinner. The Bucks gave up assets to win now. They chased big names. They tried to create a new version of a contender around Giannis, but the roster never fully felt whole again. Damian Lillard was supposed to be the answer, the offensive explosion that would give Giannis the elite perimeter partner he needed. But basketball rarely works like a video game. Fit matters, health matters, timing matters. And when injuries started interrupting everything, the dream became more complicated than the headline. Giannis could see it. He could feel the difference between a team built to win and a team trying to convince itself. It still could. That is where the emotional weight of this story really begins. Because Giannis did not leave some random franchise. He left the team that drafted him, developed him, trusted him, and watched him become one of the greatest players in the world. He gave Milwaukee everything. But eventually, even loyalty has to face reality. And when Giannis looked at Miami, he did not just see palm trees, bright lights, or a new jersey. He saw structure. He saw toughness. He saw a front office that never stopped hunting. He saw Erik Spoelstra. He saw Bam Adebayo. He saw an organization that has always believed one superstar can change the entire temperature of the league. Milwaukee gave him history. Miami offered him urgency. And for a player entering the most important late prime chapter of his career, urgency can be impossible to ignore. That is why this trade hurt so much, because it was not about betrayal. It was about the cruelest part of professional sports. Sometimes love and winning stop pointing in the same direction. Miami's years-long obsession finally pays off. Miami did not stumble into Giannis Antetokounmpo. Miami hunted him. Quietly, patiently, obsessively. The Heat kept their eyes on the one superstar who could instantly change the future of the franchise. Pat Riley has built his entire basketball identity around one belief. When a true franchise-altering player becomes even slightly available, you do not wait for permission. You move. That is what Miami has done for decades. Shaquille O'Neal arrived and helped deliver a championship. LeBron James came and turned South Beach into the center of the basketball universe. Chris Bosh joined him. Jimmy Butler brought back the edge, the fight, and the underdog arrogance that Heat fans love. But after Butler's era began to fade, Miami needed something bigger than another tough playoff run. They needed a new centerpiece. They needed a new obsession. And Giannis was always the dream. The Heat had been connected to him for years. Not because of one rumor, not because of one phone call, but because Miami understood something about his personality. Giannis is not soft. He does not want comfort basketball. He wants contact. He wants pressure. He wants a standard. He wants teammates who do not back down when the game becomes ugly. That is why Heat culture mattered in this story. Some people roll their eyes when Miami talks about culture. They think it is just branding, just a phrase, just something printed on t-shirts and repeated during broadcasts. But players around the league know the truth. Miami's system is demanding. The conditioning is real, the accountability is real, the pressure is real, and for the right kind of star, that can feel less like a burden and more like a challenge. Giannis is exactly that kind of star. When he spoke about Miami's toughness before the trade, those words now sound like foreshadowing. He noticed how the Heat played. He noticed their physicality. He noticed that even when they lacked talent, they rarely lacked identity. And for a superstar, leaving a situation that had become uncertain, identity matters. Pat Riley knew that. Erik Spoelstra knew that. The Heat front office knew that if the door ever opened, even slightly, they had to be ready before anyone else could get organized. That is why this deal hit the league so hard. Miami did not just beat another team to a trade. Miami beat the entire market to a moment it had been preparing for behind the scene. Boston wanted him. Other contenders dreamed about him. Younger teams wondered if they had enough assets to get involved. But Miami had the combination Giannis seemed to want. A competitive roster, a respected coach, a strong culture, a star big man in Bam Adebayo, and a front office willing to risk everything for one more championship run. That last part is important because Miami did not make this trade to be interesting. They made it to win. And that means the celebration cannot last long. The second Giannis arrived, the clock started. The Heat got the superstar. Now they have to prove they can build the team around him before time, injuries, and expectations turn this dream into pressure. The Bam and Giannis question. The first image alone was enough to scare the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo protecting the same paint. Defensively, it looks terrifying. Giannis can switch, recover, chase down mistakes, and turn defense into instant transition. Bam can guard multiple positions, communicate, absorb contact, and control the middle of the floor. Together, they give Miami one of the most physical front courts in basketball. But the real question is not defense. It is offense, because in the playoffs, spacing can decide everything. Giannis is at his best when he has room to attack downhill. Bam is most comfortable inside the arc. If both stars are operating near the paint, defenses can shrink the floor, go under screens, and force Miami shooters to prove they can punish them. That is where Erik Spoelstra becomes the key. Miami will have to move fast, cut hard, use Giannis in transition, let Bam become a connector, and surround both of them with enough shooting to keep the lane open. If the Heat solve that puzzle, this team becomes dangerous immediately. But if they cannot, the same front court that looks unstoppable on defense could become crowded on offense. That is why Draymond Green's doubt matters. He was not questioning Giannis's greatness. He was questioning the fit. And in today's NBA, fit can be the difference between a finals run and a painful playoff lesson. The league reacts with fear and doubt. Once Giannis landed in Miami, every contender in the East had to recalculate. Boston had to look at its roster differently. New York had to wonder if toughness was still enough. Philadelphia, Cleveland, Orlando, and Indiana all had to ask the same question: how do you stop Miami now? But the reaction was not only fear, there was doubt too. Draymond Green questioned the depth, analysts questioned the spacing, executives questioned the age curve. Betting markets moved Miami upward, but they still did not treat the Heat like an automatic super team. That tells you the real mood around the league. Everyone respects Giannis. Everyone fears what he can become in Miami. But everyone also knows that one superstar does not solve every problem. Miami still needs shooting. Miami still needs guard play. Miami still needs reliable half-court offense when the playoffs slow down. If teams wall off the paint and force the Heat into jump shots, the pressure will rise fast. So this trade did not end the Eastern Conference race. It restarted it. Miami moved the finish line, but now every serious contender has to decide whether to chase, respond, or fall behind. Milwaukee's painful goodbye. Milwaukee knew this day might come, but knowing did not make it hurt less. Giannis was not just another superstar. He was the face of the Bucks, the heart of the city, and the man who delivered Milwaukee its first championship in 50 years. Fans watched him grow from an unknown teenager into a two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, and one of the greatest players in franchise history. That is why his exit feels different. The Bucks can talk about assets, picks, young players, and rebuilding, but no trade package can instantly replace what Giannis meant emotionally. He made Milwaukee matter again. Now the franchise has to start over. Tyler Herro, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kel'el Ware, and the draft picks give Milwaukee a new path. But that path comes with pressure. Every young player will be compared to the shadow Giannis left behind. Every loss will remind fans that the championship era is over. Still, this does not erase what happened. Giannis gave Milwaukee a title. Milwaukee gave Giannis a home. The ending is painful, but the history remains powerful. And no matter how many games he wins in Miami, part of his legacy will always live in Milwaukee. The LeBron shadow over Miami. Just when the Giannis trade seemed big enough, another name entered the conversation: LeBron James. That is how quickly the NBA changes. One superstar joins Miami, and suddenly people start asking if another legend could follow. The idea is almost too dramatic. LeBron, Giannis, Bam, Spoelstra, Riley, and one last championship chase in South Beach. LeBron's history with Miami makes the rumor impossible to ignore. This is where he won 2 championships, reached 4 straight finals, and became the most complete version of himself. With Giannis now in place, the Heat suddenly look like a more attractive destination than they did before. Giannis's playful reactions to LeBron's name only added fuel. Maybe it was just fun, maybe it meant nothing. But in today's NBA, every laugh, shrug, and short answer becomes a headline. Basketball-wise, LeBron could help. He would give Miami playmaking, intelligence, playoff control, and another creator when the offense slows down. But the risks are real too. Age, health, spacing, and whether Miami can balance so many big personalities and physical players. Still, the fact that people are even discussing it proves one thing: Miami is back at the center of the NBA universe. And that alone shows how much the Giannis trade changed everything. The pressure on Pat Riley and Spoelstra, landing Giannis was the easy part. Now Miami has to live with the consequences. That sounds strange, because trading for a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo is never truly easy. It takes assets, patience, relationships, timing, and courage. But once the deal is done, the pressure changes, the hunt ends, the expectations begin, and nobody understands that better than Pat Riley. Riley has spent decades building a reputation as one of the boldest power brokers in basketball. He does not think small. He does not build teams just to survive the regular season. He wants stars. He wants banners. He wants the kind of roster that makes the rest of the league uncomfortable. But with that reputation comes a harsh truth. When Riley gets the superstar, excuses disappear. Miami cannot sell patience now. The Heat cannot tell fans this is just about being competitive. They cannot hide behind development, culture, or effort. Once Giannis arrives, the standard becomes championships, not a fun playoff run, not a tough second-round exit, championships. That pressure falls on Riley, but it also falls on Erik Spoelstra. Spoelstra may be the biggest reason people believe this can work. Around the league, he is respected as one of the best coaches alive because he solves problems other coaches complain about. He finds lineups. He creates advantages. He turns undrafted players into playoff contributors. He makes opponents uncomfortable, and he has already coached superstars through extreme pressure before. But this challenge is different. Spoelstra has to build an offense around Giannis and Bam without letting the floor shrink. He has to protect Giannis's body while still letting him dominate. He has to define Bam's role clearly enough that Miami's second star does not become an afterthought. He has to manage expectations from fans who will look at Giannis and immediately think final. That is a brutal job because every loss will become a debate. Every crowded offensive possession will become evidence. Every quiet Giannis fourth quarter will become a television segment. Every time Miami struggles to shoot, people will ask if the fit was flawed from the beginning. That is the cost of star power. It gives you attention, but it also gives you no hiding place. The Heat also have to manage the locker room. Giannis is not a normal newcomer. He arrives with history, hardware, and a gravitational pull that changes everything around him. Bam has been the center of Miami's identity for years. Other players will have to sacrifice touches, minutes, and roles. The front office will likely keep searching for shooters and veterans, which means the roster may not feel settled for a while. That can either sharpen a team or exhaust it. Miami's advantage is that this organization is used to discomfort. The Heat do not panic at hard conversations. They do not treat pressure like something to avoid. In many ways, pressure is the brand. But this time, the pressure is different because the window may not be long. Giannis is still great, but he is not a rookie superstar with 10 patient years ahead. His body has carried massive responsibility. His style is physical. His prime is precious. Miami has to maximize it now. That is why this trade is not just a victory lap for Riley. It is a final exam. He got the star, Spoelstra got the puzzle. Now the entire franchise has to prove that Miami's culture is not just strong enough to attract greatness, it has to be strong enough to turn greatness into another banner. The 3 ways this could end. There are 3 ways this Miami experiment can end. The first ending is the dream. Giannis and Bam fit perfectly. Spoelstra finds the right system, Miami adds enough shooting, the defense becomes terrifying. The Heat turn into the team nobody wants to face in the playoff. That is the version Heat fans believe in. The second ending is the problem. The spacing does not improve. Teams pack the paint. Giannis has to work too hard. Bam gets criticized. The offense becomes heavy in the playoffs, and people start asking if Miami chased the name instead of the fit. That is the nightmare. The third ending is the middle ground. Miami becomes better, but not complete. The Heat win enough to prove the trade made sense, but not enough to win a title right away. Then the rumors continue. Riley searches for another move. LeBron's name stays alive. The pressure rolls into another offseason. That might be the most realistic ending, because Miami did not trade for Giannis to be good. They traded for him to be great. And now Giannis has to prove that leaving Milwaukee was not just bold, it was right. The lesson behind the blockbuster. In the end, this Giannis Antetokounmpo trade is bigger than basketball transactions, salary math, draft picks, and depth charts. It is a story about timing. Milwaukee had the love, Miami had the urgency, Giannis had the power to choose the next chapter of his career, and the entire NBA had to react to a move that reminded everyone how quickly an era can disappear. For the Bucks, the lesson is painful but clear. You can do almost everything right and still reach the end. Milwaukee drafted Giannis, developed him, believed in him, built around him, and won a championship with him. That matters forever. But after the title, every decision became harder. Every move carried more risk. Every attempt to extend the window cost another piece of the future. That is the reality of chasing championships. There is no safe path. If Milwaukee had done nothing, people would have accused the franchise of wasting Giannis. Because they went all in, they eventually ran out of clean options. That does not make the journey a failure. It makes it human. It makes it the kind of story every great team eventually faces when the bill comes due. For Miami, the lesson is different. Ambitions still matter. Pat Riley proved again that some organizations do not wait quietly for relevance. They chase it, they call, they risk, they absorb criticism. They understand that banners are not won by being comfortable, but ambition alone is not enough. Now Miami has to do the harder work. Build the right ecosystem around Giannis, protect his body, empower Bam, find shooting, and keep the locker room connected when pressure starts testing everyone. For Giannis, the lesson may be the deepest. Legacy is not only about staying, sometimes legacy is about knowing when the mission has changed. That does not mean Milwaukee meant nothing. It means his career is still alive, still evolving, still asking new questions. He gave the Bucks a championship. He gave the city memories that will never disappear. Now he has chosen a new challenge, and with that choice comes responsibility. He cannot simply be great in Miami. He has to lead with wisdom, patience, humility, and respect for the people who believed in him before the world fully understood who he was. That is where the human side mattered. Fans have a right to feel hurt. Players have a right to seek the best path for their careers. Teams have a responsibility to be honest before relationships break completely. The healthiest ending is not one where everyone pretends there was no pain. The healthiest ending is one where people can admit the pain without turning it into hate. Basketball should be competitive. It does not have to become cruel. Milwaukee can honor Giannis without rooting against its own future. Giannis can chase another title without disrespecting the city that raised him. Miami can celebrate the trade without forgetting that someone else's heartbreak helped create its new dream. That is the balance this story needs. Because when the headlines fade, what remains is simple. A legend left home, a proud franchise started over, and a hungry team in Miami decided that the risk was worth it. Now the league waits. Will Giannis and Bam become the defensive monster everyone fears? Will Spoelstra solve the spacing puzzle? Will Riley make one more move? Will Milwaukee turn its painful goodbye into a powerful rebuild? Nobody knows yet, but that is why this story is so addictive. The trade is done, the reactions are loud, the pressure is real, and the next chapter of the NBA just became impossible to ignore. If you believe Giannis made the right decision by choosing Miami, press 1 inch the comments. If you think Milwaukee will eventually win this trade because of the young players and picks, press 2. If you think Miami still needs one more superstar to win it all, press 3. And if you are watching from Miami, Milwaukee, or anywhere else in the world, drop your city below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with another NBA fan, and subscribe to the channel for more NBA news, trade, drama, and behind-the-scenes stories.